This is Dr. Martin's supplemental lecture on Chapter 25, Section 3. I'm going to talk about the bony fish now, and again within the subphylum Vertebrata. This group used to be called, I'm going to put a bracket around this, the Osteichthyes class. Osteichthyes. Osteo is a prefix used for bone, but more recently the classification system has changed, and the terminology is a little different. So I'm going to refer to this group simply as the bony fish, and there are three subgroups within this group of fish. We're going to talk about the ray-finned fish, which are the fish that you're probably most familiar with. In addition, there's a group that's called the lobed-finned fish, and the last group are called the lungfish. All right, so let's take a look at some of the characteristics of this group as a whole. Some general features. Obviously, the skeleton is composed of bone, which is a substance that we haven't seen in the invertebrates. So bone has both protein and calcium salts. It's a very hard substance, as you know. Another characteristic of this group is they have a special gill covering called the operculum. And this has a couple of functions. Number one, it actually obviously protects the gills, which are kind of fragile tissue. But in addition, it actually acts as a pump to move water across the gills. So if you remember when we talked about the sharks have to continually swim through the water in order to get water to pass over their gills to extract oxygen. This group doesn't have to do that. They can, even if they're still maintaining the same position in the water column, they can use the operculum to actually as a pump to move water across the gills, again, into the mouth and out through the gills. So that's an important advance. All right, let's take a look at some other characteristics. So this would be feature 3. We do have, as we saw in these sharks, a system that's called the lateral line. It's a line of sensory receptors that run along the lateral body. They respond to changes in water pressure, which usually comes down to vibrations that are caused by objects, other prey items, other animals, organisms in the water column. The skin in the bony fish is covered, in most of them, with bony scales, and there's also mucus production. as probably some of you know, the bony fish have a protective slime covering that helps them move through the water and also protects against bacteria and so on. Another feature here is in this group we have paired fins. There's actually 2 sets. There's also some unpaired, but it's important that we look at the paired. There's a set that are close to the gills, and they're called the pectoral fins. And then there's a set that are further back on the body and a little bit more ventral. Well, not more ventral, a tad more ventral. And they're called the pelvic fins. Okay, characteristic 6. The feeding characteristics of this group, most are carnivorous. But some feed on plankton, even phytoplankton. A couple of other characteristics. They have a special structure that's fairly dorsal in the body cavity. It acts as a swim bladder and helps maintain buoyancy for the fish. Remember, we talked about the fact that the shark's body is actually a little bit denser than water, so it tends to sink in the water column unless it expends energy to keep it above the bottom. The bony fish can actually use their swim bladder. They can add more gas to it to help them rise in the column. They can take gas away from it and they'll sink in the water column. One last characteristic, I believe, yes, is that they have a 2-chambered heart. So we have one atrium and one ventricle. And let's erase some of this. Blood flows in a certain sequence, certain pattern. So there's the heart. Blood will leave the ventricles, flows over the gills, goes to the other organs of the body, and returns to the atria, or atrium. And we'll see how in other vertebrates, the heart and the blood flow circulation actually becomes more efficient and can support a higher metabolism. So we'll see more chambers develop, more circuits of blood. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there, and I'll talk about the 3 groups in the next lecture.